So just to start off with a couple of introductions, I'm Marlena Johns and I'm the Deputy Director with Code Enforcement. I've been with the department for about 6 years now and have enjoyed every moment of it. Denise, are you there to give your introduction?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Denise Lynn Riedel. I am the Chief Innovation Officer for the City of South Bend and head of our Department of Innovation and Technology. I'm really excited about this partnership with Code Enforcement and everything that Marlena is going to be reviewing today.
Thank you. So first we'll go over some housekeeping items. Just so you all are aware, this meeting is going to be recorded. It will be posted online, and so landlords and anyone who is interested in the ordinance itself will be able to go online to review it later and to be able to watch that walkthrough that we're going to go through again here in a little while. Please stay muted if you aren't speaking. It gets kind of noisy in the background if people have their mics on, so just keep that button muted, please, and hold all questions until the end. So first we'll go over an overview of the ordinance itself. We'll look at the background of the ordinance, what some of the requirements are, how you can register by paper, online, or in person. Then we will go through a tour of the online registration process with the Department of Innovation and Technology. We'll have some of the frequently asked questions that we've received over the years in code enforcement, some time to review those. And then we'll have some time at the end for participants' questions. So first, the purpose of landlord registration. The purpose is to collect up-to-date information on owners and property managers for rental properties in the city of South Bend. One of the primary issues that we have as the city is that when people first purchase a property, they will record that information, their mailing information, as what their information was at the time of the purchase of that property. And many times people end up moving and they don't necessarily update their information. So the landlord registration is a way to have updated contact information for people who have an interest in that property. And the information will be used for things like contacting owners or property managers if there is an issue at that property, something like maybe some major repairs that need to take place, some vandalism that may have occurred, continued environmental issues at the property. We will also have the police department who will reach out to us if they're experiencing issues at the property with something like squatters or criminal activity to find out if we have current ownership information, just so we can try to get a hold of that owner and let them know that there is a problem at the property that they may or may not have been aware of, and to just kind of work with them to see what we can do to alleviate those concerns. So anyone who owns a property in the city of South Bend, which they do not personally occupy, and it's a residential structure, will more than likely have to register their property. There are some people who still don't, but for the most part, if you own any kind of a property, whether it's a duplex or a multiplex or even just a single residential house, if you don't personally occupy that property, you do need to register. We do have situations where someone might own a residential home and they are renting a bedroom out to someone, but everything else is a common area. So there's only one kitchen, only one bathroom, and anyone else in the house uses that, but the owner still lives there. Those particular individuals do not need to register. This does only apply to properties in the city of South Bend. So even if your property has South Bend, Indiana as a city and state, if it's in the county, you don't need to register. So if you notice on your address, if it has 5 digits, so for example, 12345 Main Street, you do not need to register because that is a county property. But if you have 4 digits or less in your address, then you do need to register with us if it is in the city of South Bend. Registration deadline and costs. You are required to register by September 1st of every year, and that is for the current calendar year. So let's say you've registered in 2020, you already registered in January. That registration is good through the end of the year. So January 1st of 2021, you will need to register again for the 2021 calendar year. So anything that is registered between January and September of the current calendar year goes to the end of that current calendar year. And the cost to register is only $5 for all properties. So whether you only own 1 property or you own 200 properties, that cost is still only going to be $5 to register all of those. There are penalties for failure to comply. If you do not register your rental unit with the city of South Bend, you may get a penalty of $300 per rental unit. Now, don't worry if you may not have known about the ordinance before you received a letter from us, you will receive a letter from us. So in September of every year, after the deadline has passed, we will go through and send letters to anyone who appears to own a rental property in the city of South Bend, letting them know that this ordinance is out there and the requirement is there to register. You will then be given an amount of time to be in compliance. And if you aren't in compliance by the end of that time period, then you would receive that penalty of $300 per rental unit. We do have a lot of methods to register. We have an online method, which has actually been very well improved this year. The Department of Innovation and Technology and other key state members were actually integral in updating this website this year. It is much more user-friendly than in previous years. And it does store your contact information. So when you go in to do your registrations this year, when you go in again in 2021, that information will roll over. And we'll go through that process here shortly. You can also go online to our Landlord Registration website and download the registration form to either mail to us or bring to us on the 13th floor of the county city building. I'm actually going to open up the Landlord Registration website now just so people can see what that looks like and then where to find that form. So I'm just going to click on this link here. And this is the Landlord Registration page. So when you scroll through here, you will see that there is a lot of information that we're kind of talking about today. And then there are also links on where you can go to register. So if you click on this link, it'll take you to the Landlord Registration online process. And if you're looking for that paper form, it's right here at the Landlord Registration form. And I'm just going to open that so you can see what it looks like. Okay. And one of the ways that you'll know which year you're registering for is if you look on this form right next to Code Enforcement Landlord Registration, it says 2020. So this form means you are registering for the year 2020. January, we'll have that updated to 2021, and then that will be just a quick way for you to know which year you are registering for, just in case you get confused on which years you've already registered. So first, you'll input your owner contact information, then your property manager contact information if you have a property manager. On the next page is where you will list up to 4 properties that you own. The limit is 4 just because it takes a lot to enter these properties on the back end. So we do encourage you to use the online process as much as possible, just because you can you're unlimited in the amount of properties that you can register online. So once you have that information filled in, you would just submit this form signed and dated with your $5 payment to this address here, Code Enforcement, 227 West Jefferson Boulevard with South Bend. Or again, you can bring it to the 13th floor of the county city building. That's where Code Enforcement is. So when you get off the elevators, you go to the left with that form and you'll be able to register. So at this time, I want to hand it over to Jonathan with the Department of Innovation and Technology to walk everyone through the online registration process.
All right, thank you, Marlena, for that, for taking us up to this point. I've just started sharing my screen, so hopefully everyone can see. This is what you will see if you go to landlordregistration.southbendin.gov. This is our login screen to get into the system. But if you're coming for the first time, the first thing that you'll need to do is register an account. So we'll click here to register an account. You can also link an existing Google or Yahoo account if you'd like to register that way, but we'll go ahead and click here to start a new registration. You'll enter in all of your information. So I'll put mine, City of South Bend, and you'll just put in any information here that it asks for. This will help us, again, as Marlena was saying, to know what address we can best contact you at. Put in a phone number for contact, and then this is where we will register our email. Our email address will be what we use to log in. I have a test email for us to use, and then we'll set a secure password and create an account. This will send us a verification email that we'll need to continue the process. So if we go to our inbox, we have our verification email. Simply follow the link and it will verify our email address and we can now register with our account. So if we go back to the login page, we can use the credentials that we just generated. And click login, and it will bring us to our tool. The first thing you'll see when you first log in is this registration information. It has a lot of useful tips and links for landlords. I highly encourage you to read through and see all of the tips and information that we have here. To continue, we'll click close. But if you'd like to see that information in the future, there's always this registration information button that you can click to bring that pop-up back up. You'll see a map here as you first log in. This will show eventually the properties that we have registered, but to do that, we first need to register some properties. So we'll come up to the upper right-hand corner and click Register Properties. This will start a wizard that will take us through the process of registering properties. And I'll just note a few things here. We can always get back to that map to the homepage by clicking in this upper left-hand corner on the house. We have navigation here at the bottom to bring us to the next step, which is to add property managers. And currently, if we click back, we'll just get that registration information pop up that we saw before. So let's add our first property. We have a search bar here. We'll search for an address, and we can add as many addresses as we'd like. To add a property that you own, you simply click, and you'll see that the plus sign here will turn to a minus sign. This minus sign here shows that we have now registered this property to ourselves, and we can associate as many properties as we want to ourselves in a single go. Once we have properties, we can add property managers. If you have a property manager, you can add a property manager. Add the address for our property manager and a phone number for them as well. We'll save that and we have our property manager. To see our property manager, currently they do not show up immediately, but we can come back and see all of our property managers information. This brings us to kind of a first point that we'd like to say, what happens if you get to, say, this point in the registration or any point in the registration and you need to step away and come back to it later. Our system holds all of the information that you've put in so far. So even if we sign out, there we go, we sign out and sign back in. Second. One second for this to reload. There we are. So if we sign out and sign back in, we can see now on the map, we have those properties that we associated before, and we can click and see the address that we have associated with them. And then if we go back to the register properties dialog, we can go through and see the property manager that we have registered as well. The next step in the process is where we can see what we have registered to ourselves. We can also associate property managers at this point. So say our Jane Doe is the property manager of 227 South Francis. We would click on this property, and then we can say that Jane Doe, by clicking that plus sign, is the property manager of this property. And we can do that for as many of the properties that have property managers. We would simply add them as property managers in the previous step, and then put them as property managers on this step. The next step would be to agree to our language. We have our terms of registration. After reading them and agreeing, we would click that we have read and agreed, and that allows us to go to pay our registration fee. I'm going to put in just a test card here so that we can see what it looks like after we've paid. We have a credit card that will pass, but will not actually bill us. So this is purely for testing purposes. And after we have our payment information in, we will submit payment. That'll bring us back to our home screen, and that will also send us an email that confirms our registration, tells us what properties we have registered. If they have property managers, we'll also list those out, and tells us that our registration payment has been received and our registration is complete and active. Look at is how to make changes. If you move, obviously this tool is for us to know how best to get in contact with you. So if you move, we would like for you to make sure that you update your profile. You can do that by clicking the My Profile button and changing profile information. And here you have all of the information that you entered to begin with that you can change. If you change your address, your cell phone number changes, or your phone number changes, something along those lines, you would simply edit these fields and click update. So that's a brief walkthrough of how you can use the landlord registration tool to register your properties with code enforcement. If you have any questions on the tool or on the landlord registration process, you can send any questions you have to landlordregistration@southbendin.gov, and we will make sure that the appropriate team gets that question and gets back to you in a timely manner. Thank you for your time today, and I will pass it back to Marlena.
Thank you, Jonathan. So next, we're going to go over some of the frequently asked questions that we've received over the years. One of the main questions we receive is, what information do I need to register? And you probably picked up on that by now. It's a list of your current properties, your current mailing address. As the owner, you cannot use a PO box. You actually have to give an actual physical address. You are able to list a PO box as your secondary point of contact, but we do want you to actually provide us with your mailing address where we can get a hold of you if there is an issue with the property. Also, if you have a property manager, we would like their name and contact information. And then any other additional individuals who have the ability to go and address concerns at your property if your property manager is unavailable or if you are unavailable. How long is the registration valid? All registrations are valid for 1 year, and that is the current calendar year. So if you register between January and September, that registration is good through the end of the year, December 31st. And then in January, you would need to register again for the next calendar year. What if I sell the property? If you sell the property, the new owner or landlord would be required to register with us within 30 days. And you don't have anything that you have to do further on your end. That new owner would need to contact us. How do you update your information? For online registrations, you would sign back into your account and you would update your information there. If you registered in person or via mail, we would ask that you contact us at Code Enforcement in writing, letting us know what your updated contact information is, and we will get that input into the system. And then another question we often get is, how do I add properties to my registration? So if you've purchased a couple of properties throughout the year and now you need to add them into your registration, you don't have to pay that $5 fee again. What you would do is you would sign back into your online registration similar to above and just update your properties there. And if it was in paper or in person that you registered, you would again contact us in writing, letting us know that you needed to add properties, or maybe if you've sold properties, remove some properties and we can make those changes for you. Do I need to register a sleeping room? So this goes back to the idea of you might have rented out one of the bedrooms in your house, but you're currently residing there and all areas are common areas aside from that bedroom. The answer is no, you do not need to rent out a sleeping room or register for renting out a sleeping room. Will your information be stored next year in the online system? Yes, it will. So Your first year will probably take a little more time than your all subsequent years, just because you'll have to put all that information in for the first time. And then every year after that, you will just go in and update it and make sure that all of your properties match what your current register of properties is. Is the public able to see the registration information? They're not able to see it by signing in anywhere, but if a access to public records form was filled out, they could potentially see the information that way. So we're going to open it up now for participant questions. If anyone in the audience has questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. I'll give a couple of minutes here just to see. Okay, doesn't sound like we have any questions. I'll give it just a couple more seconds to double check and make sure someone isn't being shy. Okay, well, you all made it easy on us today then. So thank you for participating. We do want to give you a couple of important links and reminders. So first of all, as Jonathan mentioned, if you have any questions or comments about landlord registration in general or about the online registration process, please email us at landlordregistration@southbendin.gov. Landlord registration, all one word, at southbendin.gov. A reminder that the register deadline is September 1st of every year. And the landlord registration website can be found at this link. If you want to send us an email at landlordregistration@southbendin.gov, we will send a copy of this PowerPoint to you so that you can have the links to be able to click directly from there. But that website again has the online registration link as well as the paper form link and additional information and the landlord registration brochure. So please go look at that website just to get a better understanding of what landlord registration is. And if you want to view the ordinance itself, you can go to the municipal code. The easiest way to find it is to Google South Bend landlord registration municipal code, and it usually takes you right there to it. If not, you can type in this address here, and then it's in Chapter 6, Article 10. So I again thank you for attending today. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to answer. Have a good day.